All's well that ends well. In the year 1300 and something, the Countess of Roslin was unhappy in her palace near the Pyrenees. She had lost her husband, and the King of France had summoned her son Bertram to Paris, hundreds of miles away. Bertram was a pretty youth with curling hair, finely arched eyebrows, and eyes as keen as a hawk's. He was as proud as ignorance could make him, and would lie with a face like truth itself to gain a selfish end. But a pretty youth is a pretty youth, and Helena was in love with him. Helena was the daughter of a great doctor who had died in the service of the Count of Roussillon. Her sole fortune consisted in a few of her father's prescriptions. When Bertram had gone, Helena's forlorn look was noticed by the Countess, who told her that she was exactly the same to her as her own child. Tears then gathered in Helena's eyes, for she felt that the Countess made Bertram seem like a brother whom she could never marry. The Countess guessed her secret forthwith, and Helena confessed that Bertram was to her as to the sun is to the day. She hoped, however, to win this son by earning the gratitude of the King of the France, who suffered from a lingering illness, which made him lame. The great doctors attached to the court was unable to curing him, but Helena had confidence in a prescription which her father had used with success. Taking an affectionate leave of the Countess, she went to Paris and was allowed to see the king. He was very polite, but it was plain he thought her a quack. It would not become me, he said, to apply to a simple maiden for the relief which all the land doctors cannot give me. Heaven uses weak instruments sometimes, said Helena, and she declared that she would forfeit her life if she failed to make him well. And if you succeed, questioned the king, then I will ask your majesty to give me for a husband the man whom I choose. So earnest a young lady couldn't be resisted forever by a suffering king. Helena, therefore, became the king's doctor, and in 2 days the royal triple could skip. He summoned his courtiers, and they made a glittering throng in the throne room of his palace. Well, might the country girl have been dazzled, and seen a dozen husbands worth dreaming of among the handsome young noblemen before her. But her eyes only wandered till they found Bertram. Then she went up to him and said, I dare not say I take you, but I am yours. Raising her voice that the king might hear, she added, This is the man. Bertram, said the king, take her, she is your wife. My wife? My liege, said Bertram, I beg your majesty to permit me to choose a wife. Do you know, Bertram, what she had done for your king? Asked the king, who had treated Bertram like a son. Yes, your majesty, replied Bertram. But why should I marry a girl who owes her breeding to my father's charity? You disdain her for lacking a title, but I can give her a title, said the king. And as he looked at the sulky youth, a thought came to him, and he added, Strange that you think so much of blood when you couldn't distinguish your own from a beggar's if you saw them mixed together in a bowl. I can't love her, asserted Bertram, and Helena said gently, Urge him not, your majesty. I am glad to have cured my king for my country's sake. My honor requires that scornful boy's obedience, said the king. Bertram, make up your mind to this. You marry this lady of whom you are so unworthy, or you learn how a king can hate your answer. Bertram bowed low and said, Your majesty has ennobled the lady by your interest in her. I submit. Take her by the hand, said the king, and tell her she is yours. Bertram obeyed, and with little delay he was married to Helena. Fear of the king, however, couldn't make him a lover. Radical helped to soar him. A base soldier named Paulos told him to his face that now he had a kiki wiki. His business was not to fight but to stay at home. Kiki wiki was only a silly affiant for a wife, but it made Bertram feel he couldn't bear having a wife, and that he must go to the war in Italy. Tough the king had forbidden him. Helena he ordered to take leave of the king and return to Roussillon, giving her letters for his mother and herself. He then rode off, bidding her a cold goodbye. She opened the letter addressed to herself and read, "When you can get the ring from my finger, you can call me husband, but against that, when I write never." Dry-eyed had Helena been when she entered the king's presence and said farewell, but he was uneasy on her account and gave her a ring from his own finger, saying, "If you send this to me, I shall know you are in trouble and help you." She didn't show him Bertram's letter to his wife. It would have made him wish to kill the drowned count, but she went back to Roussillon and handed her mother-in-law the second letter. It was short and bitter. "I have run away," it said. "If the world be broad enough, I will be always far away from her." "Cheer up," said the noble widow to the deserted wife. "I wash his name out of my blood, and you alone are my child." The Dowager Countess, however, was still mother enough to Bertram to lay the blame of his conduct on Paulos, whom she called a very tainted fellow. Helena didn't stay long at Roussillon. She clad herself as a pilgrim, and leaving a letter for her mother-in-law, secretly set out for Florence. On entering that city, she inquired of a woman the way to the pilgrims' house of rest, the holy pilgrim, to lodge with her. Helena found that her hostess was a widow, who had a beautiful daughter named Diana. When Diana heard that Helena came from France, she said, "A countryman of yours, Count Roussillon, has done worthy service for Florence." But after a time, Diana had something to tell which was not at all worthy of Helena's husband. Bertram was making love to Diana. He didn't hide the fact that he was married. But Diana heard from Paulos that his wife was not worth caring for. The widow was anxious for Diana's sake, and Helena decided to inform her that she was the Countess Roussillon. "He keeps asking Diana for a lock of her hair," said the widow. Helena smiled mournfully, for her hair was as fine as Diana's and of the same color. Then an idea struck her, and she said, "Take this purse of gold for yourself. I will give Diana 3,000 crowns if she will help me to carry out this plan. Let her promise to give a lock of her hair to my husband if he will give her the ring which he wears on his finger. It is an ancestral ring. 5 countess of Roussillon have worn it. Yet he will yield it up for a lock of your daughter's hair. Let your daughters insist that he shall cut the lock of her hair from her in a dark room, and agree in advance that she shall not speak a single word." The widow listened attentively, with the purse of gold in her lap. She said at last, "I agree if Diana is willing." Diana was willing, and strange to say, the prospect of cutting off a lock of hair from a silent girl in a dark room was so pleasing to Bertram that he handed Diana his ring, and was told when to follow her into the dark room. At the time appointed, he came with a sharp knife, and felt a sweet face touch his as he cut off the lock of her hair. As he cut off the lock of hair, and he left the room satisfied, like a man who is filled with renown, and on his finger was a ring which the girl in the dark room had given him. The war was nearly over, but one of its concluding chapters taught Bertram that the soldier who had been impudent enough to call Helena his Kiki Wiki was far less courageous than a wife. Carolus was such a boaster and so fond of trimmings to his clothes that the French officers played him a trick to discover what he was made of. He had lost his drum and had said that he would regain it unless he was killed in the attempt. His attempt was a very poor one, and he was inventing the story of a heroic failure when he was surrounded and disarmed. Bertram was present and heard a letter read, in which Carlos told Diana that he was a fool. "This is your devoted friend," said a French lord. "He is a cat to me now," said Bertram, who detested our hearthrug pets. Carlos finally let go, but henceforth he felt like a snake and was not addicted to boasting. We now return to France with Helena, who had spread a report of her death, which was conveyed to Dowager Countess at Roussillon by Lafeu, a lord who wished to marry his daughter Magdalene to Bertram. The king mourned for Helena, but he approved of the marriage proposed for Bertram, and paid a visit to Roussillon in order to see it accomplished. "His great offence is that," he said, "let Bertram approach me." Then Bertram knelt before his king and said that if he had not loved Lafeu's daughter before he married Helena, he would have prized his wife whom he now loved when it was too late. "Love that is late offends the great sender," said the king. "Forget sweet Helena and give a ring to Magdalen." Bertram immediately gave a ring to Lafeu, who said indigently, "It's Helena's." "It's not," said Bertram. The king asked to look at the ring and said, "This is the ring I gave to Helena and bade her send to me if ever she needed help." "So you had the cunning to get from her what could help her most?" Bertram denied again that the ring was Helena's, but even his mother said it was. "You lie!" exclaimed the king. "Seize him, guards!" But even while they were seizing him, Bertram wondered how the ring, which he thought Joanna had given him, came to be so like Helena's. A gentleman now entered, craving permission to deliver a petition to the king. It was a petition signed Diana, and it begged that the king would order Bertram to marry her, whom he had deserted after winning her love. "I do sooner buy a son-in-law at fair than take Bertram now," said Lafeu. "Admit the petitioner," said the king. Bertram found himself confronted by Diana and her mother. He denied that Diana had any claim on him, and spoke of her as if her life was spent in the gutter. But she asked him what sort of gentlewoman it was to whom, as to her he gave the ring of his ancestors now missing from his finger. Bertram was ready to sink into the earth, but fate had one crowning generosity reserved for him. Helena entered. "Do I see reality?" asked the king. "Oh, pardon, pardon," cried Bertram. She held up his ancestral ring. "Now that I have this," said she, "will you love me, Bertram?" "To the end of my life," cried he. "My eyes smell onions," said Lafeu. Tears for Helena were twinkling in them. The king praised Diana when he was fully informed by that not very shy young lady of the meaning of her conduct. For Helena's sake she had wished to expose Bertram's meanness, not only to the king, but to himself. His pride was now in shards, and it is believed that he made a husband of some sort after all.